right, so first of all, just what about the general information management inside of Microsoft? Well, it really is not just about SSIS. It's really about data integration, which is SSIS, data quality, normalizing data, making sure that when I type in a phone number, it looks just like when you type a phone number in. Also governance of the data, like how the data get there. Metadata management, and then also master data management. Now, what Microsoft has done is in master data management side, you know SSIS, you know data quality services, which we'll talk about later, and then on the master data management side, that's a whole new, it's a product they released in SQL Server 2008 R2 called Master Data Services, and that is, well, look at you guys here. I've got 6 records for each person on the phone right now. I've got you in my CRM system, potentially, which is my sales system. Have you in our webinar system. Maybe on our website we have you. Maybe in our accounting system if you ever bought a product from us. And our other sites out there as well, we may have you as well there. So, but I have potentially 5 or 6 records for each individual person on the phone right now. What Master Data Services does, it basically brings all those together. It gives you a platform to basically bring all those together so you don't have to worry about it. Okay. Now, what's new in SSIS, first of all, is a brand new deployment model. So this is for the DBA. This is the biggest feature that they have in SSIS is really the deployment model piece. We have things like a new catalog, no more MSDB and no more file system. You have a brand new model where everything's in the database, which means you can execute packages different ways, which we'll show in a second. You have things called environments. We'll cover all those in a moment. You also have a new resolve references window, which I'll discuss also. There's a new component called the data correction component. Other than that, there's not a whole lot of new components in SSIS. I am showing my slides, right? And Rachel, I'm showing my slides right now, right?
Yes, you are. Yeah, you are. If you're having any problems seeing the slides, you need to log out of GoToWebinar and log back in, please.
Okay, no problem. All right, there's also a new import project wizard. So when we go from the old version of SSIS in SQL Server 2005, 2008, 2008 R2 to the new version, it basically will upgrade your package for you. Once you upgrade, you can't go back. This is basically like a whole new environment, it's a whole new construct around SSIS. This is not like how they left us out in the cold with DTS. This is a much cleaner environment to upgrade to. So the old version, you go from DTS to SSIS, was a major rewrite. And this, the project wizard, their import project wizard, their main tenet was to do no harm and not to cause DBAs to have to upgrade that. There's also a new source and destination assistant. Now this is pretty handy. What this is all about is to basically make sure if you've ever connected to Oracle, you know there's a whole bunch of ways to go into Oracle and a whole bunch of ways to write data to Oracle also. Well, the source assistant basically drag it over and it looks on your machine and says which components do you have that will successfully allow you to connect to Oracle or to connect from DB2 or whatever. So you basically select, it reads your machine and finds out what you have installed. You also have grouping inside the data flow and a new zoom out, kind of some new designer kind of interfaces, and copying and pasting is a lot easier. And also undo and redo. So all those components are now in there. The SSIS models are a little bit different also. You have a whole bunch of new tools that can help you. Now, for example, you can actually refer to SSIS in T-SQL. So if you want to execute a package, you can execute that package in T-SQL. And the reason why is because the catalog for SSIS, what stores all of your packages, is actually a database. So before, there was an SSIS service, and it was decoupled from SQL Server in every way. So it was just happens to be licensed with SQL Server. Beyond that, it wasn't really part of SQL Server. Well, now in this release, they basically folded SSIS into the SQL Server instance. So you now have multiple instances of SSIS because you have multiple instances of SQL Server. Because of that, it's now cluster aware from the get-go. It stores the instance basically stores things like your packages, your version control. All those things are all built in. It also gives you the ability to manage SSIS through PowerShell, which is a nice new item, and T-SQL as well. So if you want to execute a package, you can actually execute packages in T-SQL if you want. Okay. So enough slides. Let's jump out into a demo. And I want to focus on what makes SSIS in this release quite a bit different. So let me open up a quick package here. And we'll see, first of all, this basic package where I've got 1 and 2. If I open up this first component, I'm reading out a table called Reseller Table 2, and I've got columns like company name, for example. Remember that company name column. That's going to come in handy in a little bit later here. When I exit this, look at the derived column transform now also. Now this time we'll see that the company name, Inc. So I'm going to company name to Inc. Now, what would happen if I go over to this one? Now this one, you'll see that I'm hitting dim reseller table, and rather than dim company, I've got reseller name, not company name. It's basically the same column, but it's from a different table and different metadata. So if I were to disconnect this line right here, look what happens. It basically says there's something going wrong up here. I can still double click on it and still maintain my code and work disconnected basically at this point. But when I attach this over to 1 now instead, I still have the red line, which means there's some kind of issue going on. But if I right click on this line right here, here we go, right click on this line, come on line, there it goes, and hit resolve references. What this is doing is saying, well, before you had a column that was called company name, well now you have reseller name. How do these map up together? So if I drag this down and I drag this down from the left and to the right, I'm basically mapping these two columns together. This is a screen they stole from the Parallel Data Warehouse team. So when I hit OK now, everything reconciles, and if I double click on that, we now see my code has been rewritten also. So before, we had a big issue. Like if I made those kind of changes, my union all transform would be basically we wiped out. I had to drop it and recreate it again. My code would have to be rewritten. So a whole bunch of coding had to be redone every time I touched anything above this line. Well now, because of the resolve references, it's smart enough to recognize the lineage has changed, and it changes it also. You'll also notice a big feature here also. So the Microsoft team has doubled in size, and they have taken off the SQL Server 2008 R2 release to focus on this Denali release. And focus they did, because now you'll notice they have rounded corners. Let's go ahead and take it all in, guys. I know it's pretty impressive, but rounded corners is a big new feature in this latest release. All right, never mind. So you guys are hard crowd to please this early in the morning, I guess. All right, I know you guys are cheering behind the scenes and all that, but all right, so let's go back over to our other features package I have here. Now in this package, notice there's a few things. So when I right-click on Connection Managers, there we go. Now you guys are impressed. When I right-click on Connection Managers, you may notice before we had things like data source views. We had things like connection. We have connections up here as well. Those were all things that were kind of legacy features. Well, and they were there because they happened to be in Visual Studio.